just want to say to you that it is important that you know what the structure is. Okay, where does Professional Collective sit, and what is Professional Collective? And I think on that, the purpose, as I say, for Professional Collective is it's a business network. It's for women who are in business, who are career women, who are working in business, to have a platform where they can come and actually unite, network, and also speak the truth. I think it's so important that we feel safe, that we have the ability to connect in a space where we can speak the truth, where we can allow ourselves the opportunity to be open and to be vulnerable. So on that note, our theme for the year, Fortunate, would you like to just repeat what our theme for the year is while I try and get my screen to work?
Okay. The theme for the year is wholeness. And if you actually look it up, wholeness means it's being in a state of being undamaged and unbroken. And I think the way we're heading, and especially for tonight, really looking at how we are all tuning in and just showing up for ourselves. It
really taking hands and saying, being a woman is hard, and how can we support each other, and how can we make it better? And I use the metaphor, and I say, you know, well-being and well-being practices is like a gym membership. It means nothing if that card is stuck in your purse. You're not going to get a six-pack. You have to work at it. You have to choose yourself, make the decision, and actively participate in your own well-being. So I'd like to introduce Bianca Fourie. She's my partner. She's a lecturer at the South African College of Applied Psychology. And B, if you could start I'm going to dive directly into the presentation. Firstly, we would like to take this opportunity, and I don't know how afraid everybody is with technology, but I want you to embrace the 3 seconds of courage and click on that link that Bianca is going to share with you. We have shared a Padlet, and that's basically, you know, the old-fashioned graffiti wall. If you click on the link, you can go there, and the idea is, B, are you able to share our
yes, I'm just
presentation?
copying it.
You will see it.
Yes, I'm just copying the Padlet link in.
Okay. I don't know why I can't see the presentation. Are you girls?
I'm going to share it just now.
Right?
No.
Okay, perfect.
I'm going to share it just now.
So, perfect. In August, we all know that it's Women's Month, right? And we have launched a project that we are calling Women Matter. And the idea behind this is, I know that we are representing different generations at this moment. I'm going to put my video up so you can focus on the presentation. Is how our grannies used to meet at the washing line with the neighbors and share their heartache, their stories, their irritations, their frustrations. And you can go to that link on Padlet and you can share your story. You can go and type. And I'd like to read the introduction to you. Women Matter Volume 1, and that will be published in August 2025, which is this year. Your story matters. We invite you to dig deep and breathe in the courage you need to share your personal story about burnout and the challenges that you face as a professional woman in the workplace. Share your journey, your struggle, but most of all, share your small victories. And then you'll see a few women have actually shared some of their ideas. And I think vulnerability is the first step in normalizing the struggle and finding solutions. And if we want to support each other, we really need to come together in that place of vulnerability to say, it's not easy. I've got various roles that I need to fulfill, various hats that I need to wear in one day. And success doesn't come easy. But if we're together, and we're going to talk a little bit later about social networks and the importance of that. So here you see the little write-up. Let's meet at the washing line, like our grannies did and theirs. Share the loads we carry. Hang your story next to mine, and you'll see on the Padlet, there's a beautiful image with loads of bras hanging, and I thought it was so relevant, you know, as feminists and people who came together and really fought for our place in the business world, our place in the world. I think that was so relevant. So hang your story next to mine. Let us lift our voices, recreate the space for women to share, connect, and inspire one story at a time. So while we are talking about well-being and educating you and sharing ideas, I would like to invite you to art. Like Charlotte said, let's be interactive and let's share stories. You don't have to write a whole page. You can come back to it. You can comment on someone else's story. Let's support each other and let's interact. So the importance of shared experience is really important in becoming resilient, and sharing our stories build connection and understanding. They serve as tools for reflection and healing, again, because your story matters and change is in our hands. I think we live in an era where it's not accepted to sit on the sideline and complain. If you want to complain and you want to give negative feedback, you have to come with something better. And you know, constructive feedback. So B, can you please go to the next slide? So Bianca's going to start, and she's going to talk about burnout and reclaiming your story. Thank you, B.
Erica, can you hear me nice and clear?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure. All right, good evening, ladies. I am so honored to be speaking to such an incredible group of women. I just want you to take a moment and reflect. And I want you to ask yourself if you've ever found yourself in a moment where you've bought something that you didn't need. For example, another pair of jeans, a kitchen gadget that you promised would change your life, or maybe you've just scrolled endlessly on social media, long past the point of enjoyment. And it was almost like while you were buying that thing or scrolling through social media, as if you were looking for something, but you could not pinpoint what. And this was a lady called Annika's story, and she was in therapy, and while she told her story, she quite bravely said that she felt like a swan. Above the water, she was graceful, calm, and composed, but below, she was paddling fiercely, trying to stay afloat. And there was a deep sense of duty that was actually driving her. And she actually believed that if she was to let go, that everything would fall apart. And I think as ladies, we can often connect with that or relate to that. And then after quite some time, her cracks started to show. And this is where, when we can relate, we start to realize that Annika's story is not unique. Many of us, unfortunately, know this feeling, and that working harder or pushing further and ignoring those little voices that tell us you are exhausted, we ignore it until the point where it actually becomes deafening screams. And that is where burnout starts. So we know that currently burnout is one of the biggest issues globally, actually. And I think this is particularly prevalent in women who juggle multiple roles. For example, if we look at leadership, family, community roles. And I want you to realize that this session is more than just identifying, giving definitions and the scientific part of burnout. I want you guys to remember this as a session where you could learn from each other and also just share your own unique journeys and find ways to collectively actually become resilient. Because I think if we stand together, we can face the challenges. So I want to first just quickly touch on the fact that often resilience is seen as mental toughness alone. And yes, there's a component to it, that resilience is mental toughness, as resilience and burnout go hand in hand. But there's this thing in workplaces that are taking place. The more load you can carry, the stronger you are, the more resilient you are. And that often leads to burnout. And I think that narrative needs to change. It's not about that. It involves the body and the emotions to be holistically looked after, which is then our well-being. And then I just want to stand still for a moment and look at the unseen gap between women and the expectations that the world put upon us. And this is often unseen, as I said, and who we are and what the world actually expects us to be. And this gap is the major actually driver of burnout, especially for women, and like Fortune said, wearing so many hats in the professional realm, being caregivers, partners, friends, and even more than that, are all while still being held to the standard of you need to be perfect, and that is unattainable. We know that. So now we ask ourselves, but why is this gap so significant? And that is because we expend such a big amount of emotional, mental, and physical energy to try and close it. So every time we start stretching ourselves to meet these societal or cultural expectations or work obligations or expectations, we take away from our own reserves. And then over time, this leads to us becoming exhausted, and not physically, but actually emotionally exhausted as well. And like I said, this is the start of burnout. So the truth is that this is not sustainable. We know this. We are often expected to nurture and be endlessly patient, but we also need to be strong leaders. We need to prioritize self-care, take those bubble baths, go do your nails, things like that. But then we need to still be available for everyone else 24/7. And then the media also plays a massive role in this, where they glorify women who do it all, like I said, but yet the reality of doing all of this is an endless cycle of guilt and then anxiety and fatigue. So, of course, like I said, this is not sustainable because the constant drive and strive to being everyone or bring everything to everyone keeps us stuck in a stress response where we are overextending ourselves and then not looking after ourselves, which then chips away at our well-being. So we need to change this narrative. We need to change thinking that we are not good enough and that we are not doing enough, because this is the mindset of the core that actually fuels the stress leading to burnout. So I think it's important to, rather than trying to cope with stress, figure out and go deeper to the root level of what is it that is causing my stress, those root causes. So for example, what expectations am I trying to meet that don't necessarily align with my true values? I think this is major. If things don't align with our values, there's a friction within our core. Who am I trying to please, and at what cost to myself? So to what extent am I losing myself in order to please others? What pressures am I carrying that I don't need to carry myself, or that I don't need to carry anymore? Also, what responsibilities am I taking on that's not my own? even responsibilities of your children or your partner. And I think we often struggle to let go of that because innately we often feel responsible. So yes, even though yoga and mindfulness and bubble baths and all those things are nice and they are valuable at the right time and place, we need to start redefining the rules that we live by. And that's what I've just mentioned. We need to start giving ourselves permission to step out of this thinking cycle of I'm not good enough. And we need to step into a space where we actually give ourselves the permission to live authentically. We need to stop measuring our worth by impossible standards, and we need to know that it's okay to say no. It's not about survival, it's about starting to thrive. So yeah, I want to go to the second slide and then just go into the nitty-gritties of burnout, but I want you to remember what I just said about burnout, and I want you to see if you can recognize some of these things within yourself, and then know at the back of your mind that you already have a little tool in your toolkit to start addressing this. So what is burnout? The World Health Organization defines it as a syndrome that results from chronic workplace stress that hasn't been successfully managed. Not only is it chronic workplace stress, it could also be someone who's a caregiver who 24/7 needs to look after someone else's health. Anything that leads to chronic stress. It's characterized by emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and reduced personal accomplishment. So for women specifically, it often stems from societal expectations, like we said, work-life imbalance, and the pressure to succeed in all the domains that we need to. So what is our first step to prevention? It is recognizing these symptoms. So some of the early signs are physical, mental, and emotional fatigue, detachment. Then we have, so detachment is feeling disconnected from work, relationships, or others. Then we have that reduced sense of accomplishment where we have self-doubt, brain fog, that harsh inner voice that criticizes you constantly. So then we have decreased motivation, feelings of helplessness, erratic emotional responses, which also links to emotional dysregulation, catastrophizing. For example, something small happens and you feel like it's the end of the world. Emotional numbness, physically a weak immune system, and then sleep disturbances or insomnia. So who is then at risk? So we've spoken about the role that burnout plays in women specifically, but there are certain roles that carry a higher risk of burnout. So we know parents need to juggle endless routines, and then they have this guilt of not becoming detached. So often parents would say, I love my children, but I don't necessarily like being around them at the moment. So that is when they start feeling detached. But that also comes with a feeling of guilt. Caregivers, those who need to put others' needs before them, and then they have little in their cup left, like what she said, for themselves. And then the younger population, students, where they need to adhere to deadlines and pressure to succeed. Then employees that are faced with toxic workplaces or poor leadership, leaders where they need to constantly look after the emotional demands of others, and entrepreneurs who then need to carry the weight of their business and actually the survival of their businesses. So I think it's important to understand we have this list of who is at higher risk, but burnout does not discriminate. It actually thrives where our boundaries are spread very thin, or where they're actually non-existent. But Erica will speak about that a bit later. So there are 5 stages of burnout, and this is quite important to know. in order for you to identify when you feel like this, in which stage you might be. So the first one is the honeymoon phase or stage. This is where you are still very passionate, often overcommitting to certain things within the work environment because everything feels exciting and you can do everything. And then the second stage starts, where we have the onset of stress. So we do get eustress, which is a good type of stress that actually drives performance, but we get stress that is also bad for us. And this is when we start noticing that the stress is outnumbering the person's ability to cope. And this is where the person's cracks actually start to appear, and we can see, okay, there's something going on. This person is not just stressed, it's actually a bit more than that. So they might feel a bit anxious, irritable, and there's reduced productivity within the workplace. Then we move to stage 3, which is chronic stress. That is where stress actually becomes the person's default response. So the energy is completely depleted. They start to use unhealthy coping mechanisms such as frustration, neglecting their own personal need, resentfulness, anger, in order to cope. Then we're only at stage 4. The person starts to experience burnout. So for someone to become burnout, it is quite serious. And I don't think we always understand that, because burnout has become such a term that is used quite often. And that is where the person has actually hit the wall. They are exhausted, detached, and they just, then they actually start showing physical symptoms. We have people who actually cannot get out of bed in the mornings, that are so burned out that they physically cannot get up. And then in stage 5, this is habitual burnout. So if we don't address burnout in stage 4, we go over to stage 5, and this is where burnout is just the norm. Where the person just actually starts becoming used to living in this constant state of depletion. And what is often not known is that, and I know I'm veering off a bit, but I'll come right back, is that children can also experience burnout. So we might not know that we've actually became burnt out as a child, and we've actually learned to deal with stresses and actually just live in the state of depletion. So if you're experiencing any of these stages or symptoms, it's very important to address it and see what's lying underneath. So there is hope. It's not just all about the bad stuff. We are here to give you hope and to inspire you. Let me just go there. So like I said, burnout thrives in the absence of boundaries. But we can recover when we start to draw those lines in the sand that start to honor us, our energy and our values. So the next time when you start feeling that you are pulled to actually do more or to be more, just think and pause and ask yourself, why am I paddling so hard? Just like Annika in the beginning. What if I what am I afraid of if I stop doing this, or who am I trying to please? And yeah, I think that now that we've identified burnout or the symptoms of burnouts, and we can start sharing our stories, I think it's also important to see, and Erica will discuss that, how we can further prevent it. And yeah, to set our boundaries in order to protect our mental health. So yes, take time for yourself, mentally as well. And just take care of your own mental health. And as women, we need to also support each other. Burnout is not something that we need to face alone. Like Charlotte also said, by building connections, sharing our stories and implementing certain strategies, there is an opportunity to actually create a culture of resilience and empowerment. So I want to encourage you to continue with this and continue uplifting one another in not only your professional lives, but personal lives as well. So thank you so much for having me. That is my section for the evening. I'm going to hand over to Erica. And yeah, if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to pop them in the Q&A or in the chat, and we will be so happy to answer you there as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Bea. I think you have really empowered us with a fresh look and a fresh voice. And also, I have to just stress that this is not just us trying to look clever and smart. This is, you know, really based on recent research, and we are trying to package this so that it can add value to your life. Now, Bianca spoke about boundaries, and I want to come in here and just put a definition to what does it actually mean. And boundaries means that you're referring to limits that you set for yourself so that you can actually function and maintain your own well-being while you are functioning. Bea, can you please go to the next slide? Thank you. Let's see, thank you. So boundaries is one thing, but if you're not actually taking care of yourself and actually taking the time to reset and rest, the fact that you know about boundaries and the fact that you know about burnout won't help you much. But I want to share with you, and I want to stress that there are 7 types of rest. First, you have physical rest. That's actually taking the nap, and not just napping, but just absence of activity. You have mental rest, where you disengage from any stressful mental activity. You have sensory rest. Now, if those of you who have children, if you remember when they were at their terrible twos and there was 101 questions all the time, we sometimes as a mom, you actually experience sensory overload. And I used to do with my kids when they were smaller, when we were driving to school, I would actually say, okay, 2 minutes of silence, just so that I could reset from that sensory overload of providing for everybody. And this doesn't only happen to mothers. I think generally as women, we have so many balls in the air that we can become very quickly, we can get into a space where we are perceiving sensory overload. Then creative rest, knitting, journaling, doing any type of craft, anything that is creating something from nothing is a type of creative rest. Emotional rest, where you also maybe just have to isolate from all the expectations that people have of you around you, to say stop, and I don't have to think about anybody else, you know. Something small like just booking yourself into a bed and breakfast or a hotel or whatever for one night, just so that you can really be in a space where nobody expects anything from you. Social rest, taking those social media detoxes, just saying no to those social engagements that you do not have the energy for, yet you feel obliged to go. Again, a boundary is a space where you love yourself and another person at the same time. So something's got to give. When you're saying yes to one thing, you have to remember you're saying no to something else. And then spiritual rest, reflection. Spiritual rest doesn't necessarily mean engaging in religious practices. Something like yoga can be spiritual rest. Reflection can be spiritual rest. So keep in mind that you have to prioritize these different types of rest, and that rest and recharging does not always refer to the fact that you need to sleep. Bea, please go to the next slide. Now, I want to talk about the value of social well-being, and I think this is very apt in this space where we are part of the professional collective and women of stature. This is so relevant to talk about the value that the quality of our relationships, our connections, and our interactions with other people can add to our lives, and how this can alleviate burnout. Because the feeling, that sense of belonging and purpose and security that you have in an environment like this really helps you to manage burnout and stress, simply because you can share. And you can share your own challenges. And once one person starts sharing, often we find that someone else shares their story, and you realize, but it's not just me. I'm not isolated. I share an experience. My lived experience is valid. I'm not crazy. And as women, I think we're so often labeled with being emotional, or being impulsive, or this or that or the next thing, that we need to stop wearing labels that we didn't choose for ourselves. So please go to the next slide. Now, these social well-being networks, like the Professional Collective, often fulfills the function of an emotional support network, like I said, because we intentionally get together in safe spaces where we share our experience, because we know there's no judgment. If I'm going to share all my weaknesses and my challenges, and you do that too, in that trust, I actually feel that I'm okay, because I'm not the only one. I'm not isolated. So these emotional support networks are so important for finding a space where you can be resilient, because you don't feel like I'm the only one feeling like this. I'm the only woman that cannot cope with motherhood and being a wife and being a businesswoman. I'm the only one who cannot support my family and be at the best version of myself, or 100% at all times. And those are the untruths and the lies we get caught up when we are spread very thin, because our tolerance levels are lower. Please go to the next slide, Bianca. Now, an important question, and I'd love for you, those of you who feel moved to actually make a comment here, please put your mic on and just talk. This is a safe space. I want to ask you, what is the price you are paying for allowing specific people to sit at your table? Are you aware of those people that are taking a space at your table, but in actual fact are not adding value to your life, but that are draining you? You know, and I think in various roles we experience this. A mother-in-law that's very, I just want to use the word nasty. I think, let's cut to the chase. We all know a story or know someone with a mother-in-law from hell. In family units, we often make excuses for people being cruel, and we often are being made to feel guilty when we put a boundary in, to say no, that your behavior is not acceptable, or you haven't earned your space at my table. And I think this is something that we have to normalize, to say, you have to earn your space at my table, because I'm adding value to your life, and I expect the people that are sitting around my table to also add value to my life as I'm adding to them, and to keep each other accountable. To when you have a friend, a colleague, just a partner, a close female friend that you see are allowing other people to steal from her, to steal her joy. Because when we're so exhausted, it's very difficult to experience any emotion. We numb ourselves because we go into survival mode. So please, I want you to take this image in. And a table is not always a happy place, but you have the responsibility to create the happy spaces that you move in. Please move to the next slide. I see there's quite a few responses in the chat, and I'm excited to read them. Now, tools to boost well-being. And like I said in the beginning, well-being is a big word. And well-being practices are thrown around, the word is thrown around very loosely. But like a gym contract, you have to actually get up and put on your gear and go to the gym if you want to see results. And it's the same with well-being practices. And we've launched a project called 365 Days of Gratitude. And it's as simple as a WhatsApp group with disappearing messages. Some of Dr. Nikki, I know you are also part of that group, where every day, at whichever time you're comfortable with, you share the 3 things you are grateful for. And the WhatsApp group acts like an accountability partner. So it's not, you don't have to feel exposed because nobody is actually judging. It's just, it's a place where you can go and practice that gratitude. And then building social connections, but not just any social connections that add value and create a space for you to add value to other people, and strengthening those existing relationships that do add value and meaning and purpose to your life. And then also think about your role at other people's table. What are you bringing? If you are exhausted and you are spread thin and you are not the best version of yourself, maybe you are the person exhausting other people. And yes, we're not always in a space to receive uncomfortable truths. But if you want to excel, if you want to move into a space in 2025 where you live in wholeness, then you have to take a really good look in the mirror and say, but you know what am I doing? What am I showing? How am I showing up for myself and other people? And then managing what you expose yourself to. You know, what are you allowing into your space? It's so important that you also censor that, because where your thoughts are, your behavior will follow. B, please go to the next slide. Bianca, can you please? Thank you. Now, we've spoken about mindfulness and gratitude and recognition. Meditation breaks, breathing. I think a lot of us, we are aware of these practices, and I'm not going to harp on this. I want to move on to braving, and that's on the next slide. Please be, thank you. Like you can really go to our Instagram accounts and our LinkedIn account, and we really make a lot of content available freely. And we want you to interact with us and say, this is my experience. And the goal here is to educate people in well-being. Now, I want to talk about, and I want to end with this, is Brené Brown. She's a famous author and also a professor at the University of Houston, I think, in Texas. And she came up with this acronym called Braving. And the first principle of that is boundaries. Now, we've spoken about boundaries. Saying no. And for the Wellbeing Initiative, for teachers specifically, we created a little reminder that said, if it doesn't help me to grow, glow, or flow, it's a no. And I want you almost to tattoo that on your heart. If it's not adding value to your life, then it's a no. Secondly, reliability. If you commit to something, you have to follow through. If you have to be reliable, you have to show up for yourself and walk in that authenticity and responsibility to your social network to add value. Then thirdly, accountability. Now, accountability is different from reliability or responsibility. Accountability means my yes is my yes and my no is my no. And when I make a mistake, I don't only say sorry. I come with a solution. I ask, Charlotte, how can I fix this? This is what I want to do to fix my error, and I'm really committing myself not to making the same mistake again, because often we hurt other people and we also hurt ourselves. So that's the difference. Not just saying sorry, but coming up with an actionable gesture to fix that. Then number 4, and I think as women this is very important, and that's V for Vault, which means if a story is not yours to share, don't. We all have our stories, we all have our experiences, and when, especially in working environment or work environments, when there's the corridor gossip, don't engage, but rather say, you know, I don't think this is the correct forum, or that person is not here to defend itself, or just simply say, you know, I don't think that's your story to share, but to start protecting each other in order to create the environment, the culture that we want to live in, we want to thrive in. And that brings us to integrity. And I think a lot of us grew up with this, doing the right thing when no one's watching, when you don't have an audience, right? But your personal integrity is also very connected to you living with meaning and purpose and living in your own authenticity. And then number 6, non-judgment, which means that I believe that you are showing up as your best version of yourself at this moment, with the tools that you have, with your experience, your lived experience, that you have the best of intentions, right? And number 7 is to say that I will show up with generosity, which means it's very closely connected to number 6. So I will show up in a mindset of non-judgment, and I will believe, before I jump to any conclusions, that you had the best interest with your actions. And I will try to live by that. So I will try and live out my own best intentions. Then I want us to go to the last slide. This is such a powerful acronym, and it's really easy to remember. Braving. Now, I'd really love all of you to go to Instagram and please follow us and share, like I said, with Women Matter. This is but one project. We have various projects going. Another project that we will be launching soon, specifically on Instagram, is Happy Me. We also positive psychology based tips for living your best life. So please, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to be part of your journey, and we really pray that the content that we've shared with you today and the conversation that we've started today, that this will help you reflect and see how you can get up, dress up, and show up, not just for yourself, but also for each other. We thank you so much for your time. We are trying to respect your time, and yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And I think what you've given us is a lot of food for thought and some very, very valuable advice and information. I'm going to hand over to Fortunate.
Wow. Thank you so much, Erica and Bianca. Yeah, I feel like yeah, you see, the beauty about this session is that we just started a new year, and it all falls into alignment and wholeness, where we're heading. But before we do everything outside ourselves and self-care, these are the kind of information or insights or wisdom that we need to take into account. And what you've shared with us, really, there's a lot of things that I resonate with, you know, like what is really causing my stress? Do I even have boundaries myself? And it's okay to say I have boundaries, but are we acting on them? You know, I see that one of our members added that if it's not adding value, it's a no. you know. So these are the hard questions that you ask yourself. That are we showing up or giving yourself permission to show authentically, to live authentically? You know, it takes self-awareness. It takes platform like this. It takes sessions like showing up and getting to know, like, do you even realize at a burnout stage, the stages of stress and burnout, and creating boundaries. So everything that you've shared with us, for me, I know Charlotte has recorded it. It really needs to, for me to unpack. So I set the tone, you know, and really tap into wholeness. Wholeness, we can express it in so many ways. But if we don't have the simple, the basic foundation of what you've just shared with us, of which they really relate to us, and we all need at some point. I think one of us can relate to really, you know, stress. You know, you get irritable by so many things. Kids are going back to school, and you just get irritable by. It's gonna get to that stage. But now that there's that insight, and we are aware of such, and what really stood out for me is, you know, having that mindset that you're not good enough. We always wanting to, you know, to show up, always wanting to. I don't even know at some point what exactly is it, but the fact that you it's so much in you, you don't know, you can't even figure it out what it is. So I really thank you, ladies, for sharing this information, this insightful. I think you've shared your details with us to follow you, and most definitely from my side and Charlotte, we've shared on the screen here the membership, how you can really be part of us. These are the platforms, these are the sessions of the type of stories that we share, where we share this basically embodies wholeness theme. We're sharing our wins, how we get to the wins. It's not only testimonies, but stories like this, and information like this, where we get to know, and you share that I'm at this stage. I can see even one of the comments saying that you experience, Hunter, I think it was Hunter, that she's experiencing most of the stuff that was shared here. And if you don't have a platform, it's just you, yourself, and I. You have no way to share. There's no help. This is what Professional Collective embodies. This is where we share insights like this. This is where we really need you to come out and say, I need help. And it's okay to say no. You know, it's okay to say I need help. There's a lot that's going on. So with our membership here, I don't know if you can you all see perhaps maybe to share more information on how to be a good standing Professional Collective member. Please refer to our website. Charlotte will share more information. We will share the information you get by your email, where we actually elaborate who we are and how we going forward. Yeah, it's on the screen there. Please log in, and more information is shared on that website. From me, thank you so much, ladies. I appreciate each and every one of you. And let's try and redefine and reset what was shared today, and identify purposefully and intentionally, where are you? Where do you fit in this whole cup of wholeness? What areas can you fix, and there's always help. Thank you so much, and enjoy your evening.
Thank you so much, Fortunate. And yes, from me as well, I just want to say thank you to everybody that joined us this evening. We know that you have all got busy schedules, although it's the beginning of the year. You may just have come from a very relaxing holiday, and you're getting yourself ready to, as I say, to hit the ground running. So from us, again, Erica, Bianca, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you. I can see from the chats that we've seen here, there's a lot of lovely feedback chats happening here. They asked for Instagram handle, but I see it was on your slide. But what I'll do is we can also share it with everybody via I see you've got it, you've actually got it here, Bianca. So please pick it up from the chat box, ladies, if you haven't done so yet. And then, yes, some very nice feedback. The session was so amazing. Thank you. Thank you for the informative talk. Good reminder to spoil ourselves and take time out. Great session. So many takeaways from today's session. So a job well done, Erica and Bianca. And again, from us at
So
Professional
much. We
Collective.
really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we have the Power Hour on a monthly basis. This is obviously to give everybody that is not able to attend our in-person events during the year to connect on a monthly basis. So if this is something that interests you and you'd like to know more, we do have our website, but you're also welcome to contact me directly. So we are on the hour, 8 o'clock. Good timing. Punctuality is key. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Bianca. Thank you, Sophie, for joining. Thank you, Teresa, Jen. Thank you. Thank you, Nikki. And thank you, Tabi Singh. Sibongile. And Teresa.
Okay. Good night, Fortunate. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.